The other point that I think is very interesting in the blog post that you wrote about is, I think, what did you put? It was like cloud native or cloud isn't cloud native. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, and sometimes people talk about this a little bit as the buzzword bingo or meme bingo, the distributed monolith. Right? So, but basically, if the pattern is, you've taken out this Oracle database system, or this time in writing stuff, you're not relying on everything to pipe down into just one central database to rule them all. You're not going to do that. You're going to have all these microservices. That's cool. And then you pipe them all down to one cloud or one RDMS, Aurora or database as a service. You now have replicated the old pattern, right? Except you've done it with a higher tax. Arguably, you should have just built an N-tier application, just gone full monolith at that point, right? What are you doing? Because you're going to have arguments over how you configure that database as a service. It doesn't come like with a DBA included, right? You got to be your own DBAs. The DBAs are going to pop the hood on it and say, I don't like the data model. I don't like the way this thing was constructed. And you're going to argue about it unless they each have their own. Now, if they each have their own, now you're getting to a container attached pattern, right? So that's what I was reacting to. It was actually a great point made by, I believe, a NetApp engineer in this kind of discussion around KubeCon. Like, hey, you're kind of saying that if I use one Aurora or one Redshift, one database to rule them all in my architecture, somehow the cloud service isn't cloud native. And that's correct. It isn't. If you're using it in that way, it's not cloud native. If you're not going disaggregated, then you don't really have a cloud native architecture.
Yeah, and it makes sense. You want to be free of vendor lock-in on every level, right? And you want to be free of these potential minefields that could blow up in your face.
Yeah.